No.
Okay, sorry. My slide like just got shut down. I have to open my slides
Or is it
again.
auto minimize or auto shutdown?
Okay, sorry, I have to
No problem, doctor. Just take your time. Dr. Kavi, your line, your connection is stuck, I think. Can you hear me?
sorry, my PowerPoint now it's like initiating. Just give me a second.
Okay, so Dr. Kavi, we were still waiting for you to restart
Yeah.
your PowerPoint slides, no problem. So for other participants, I would like to request you all to fill up the attendance link that is provided in the chat box on the left side of your screen. Okay, this is for UiTM staff. Okay, I will forward again the link for attendance record. Okay, you may start to fill for the participant, you may start to fill in the attendance for attendance record and evaluation form. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ima Iliani. I will forward the comments regarding the second question for the typo error.
So can you see my slides now?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So I think
Okay. Yeah.
I've taken some time, so I'll just keep my bio chart. Right. So here today I'll be presenting on the Scopus and Web of Science in a nutshell. So the main idea that I've got to present about this is basically because when I talk with some lecturers, so with my colleagues and so on, many have the confusion between external metrics and also what are the things that we can be assessed through these two databases, which is Scopus and Web of Science. And I believe these two databases are one of the, they are the largest databases and also widely accepted for all around the world and so on. So for today's topic, first I will be talking on the overview of the journal database, and then we'll be going into the Web of Science. I will talk about the categories and also master journal list, journal impact factor, eigenfactors, which is like seldom we hear about that. So I will discuss about that, how it will be calculated and so on. The next part will be talking on the scopus, their coverage, and what are the metrics that can be found, and also I will slightly discuss about the H index, which can be found from Web of Science and also Scopus, and summary. Okay, so this is the overview of journal database. So basically, all of us are researchers, so I'm sure that all of us must be writing papers, we are publishing, and so on. So as a author, what we will do is our responsibility would be to, conduct the research, to write a paper, and then we will submit it to a particular target journal. And then the journal's role would be to, they will check first whether your article matches with your aim and scope or not. They will ensure that all the qualities are okay or not. If let's say they find it suitable, they will send it for the review process. Then after the review, we will respond and so on. Then done. Okay, after that, journal will publish the accepted version. So here comes the publisher. So basically, what does the publisher do? They normally support the journals with their technology, such as like, we have like Scholar One, Editorial Manager, all this stuff we provided by the publishers to the journals so that they can use the online platform system. Okay, and also publishers normally will get subscribed by the libraries all around the world. So that's how they improve the visibility of that particular journals and so on. And the indexer, so indexer actually will come between journal and the publisher. Because in the indexes role, I mean the indexing companies, we have like PubMed, Web of Science, Google Scholar, Scopus. There are many types of indexing companies out there, but among them, the well-known are the Web of Science and Scopus, obviously. All right. So journal will submit their paper to the indexing companies, and then indexing companies, they will index. That means they only contain the title, abstract, author's information, and also they will conduct the scientometric analysis regarding that particular journal and also the papers. Okay, so that's what we will see in detail later on. Okay, just for a brief introduction about Web of Science. Formerly, it was known as Web of Knowledge, managed by Institute for Scientific Information. So that's where we got the term ISI. So last time we used to use this term called ISI papers, but we don't have that term anymore, even though some of us are still using. But like, it's like later I will explain again. So ISI, where does it went and so on. Okay. After that, after the Web of Knowledge, it was the whole thing was taken over by Clarivate Analytics. So now they are the one or the official partner of Web of Science, where they are doing all this scientometric analysis. When we look at the contents of Web of Science, they have roughly about 50,000 scholarly books, 20,000 journals, 160,000 conference proceedings. So these are the contents. And when we go into the coverage, so for the coverage, this is the important part. They have 4 different categories under the Web of Science. Okay, so here we have like Science Citation Index Expanded, which is SCIE, Social Science Citation Index, SSCI, Arts and Humanities Citation Index. The last one, Emerging Sources Citation Index. So ESCI is the something latest which has been launched by the Web of Science. They launched this somewhere in 2015. Okay, apart from ESCI, the other 3 categories, SCIE, SSCI, and AHCI, their medium will be used normally to generate the general impact factor, eigenfactor, the citation index, and also some other scores, whichever is relevant for their performance. Okay, now, okay, I will talk more about the ESCI in a while. Okay, where do we find this Web of Science Index journal? One of the most easiest platform would be the Master Journalist. So this is a free platform. You can just Google this Master Journalist, and then you can go here. So here I've given one of the example here. I try to search on the Journal of Metals, Materials, and Minerals. All right. So when we type if let's say it has been indexed by Web of Science, then it will automatically appear there. So we just click, and then we can see some basic information about this journal. Okay, here we can see it's a free platform which contains Web of Science core collection. So core collection means all the 4 categories that I mentioned earlier, which is SCIE, SSCI, HCI, and ESCI. Okay, now something about ESCI. Basically, if let's say the journal has been like indexed by Web of Science, okay, but they got the category called ESCI, like this journal over here, the one that I displayed, Journal of Metals, Materials and Minerals. We can see at the bottom part there, Web of Science core collection, ESCI. That means they are considered as a waiting list. Okay, so last time we had the term ISI. So ISI is normally journals with impact factor and quartile ranking and so on. But here they came out with the waiting list ranking, which will be known as the ESCI. It means that they also index by Web of Science, just that they don't have impact factor or Q. Okay, you can't find those informations. And last time, just by accessing through this master journal list, if you scroll down, you will have a button where you can log in by using your personal email or Facebook ID. You can check their quartile and so on. But I'm not sure. Recently, I tried to check in that way, but for some of the journals, like almost all the journals that I've searched, I couldn't find a quartile. So another option that we can check in the very detailed metrics about these journals, we have to go through the journal citation report. Okay, now this JCR, okay, short form JCR, journal citation report, it must be accessed through your university subscription. Without the university subscription, we cannot access this information. It's not like Scopus. Many of the things in Scopus, we can access that freely. It's freely available. But for the Web of Science, we have to access through our university subscription. So here, what does it cover under the journal citation report? So normally it contains all the articles of journals which has been indexed at the SCIE, Arts and Humanities, the AHCI, and also the Social Science Citation Index. And also they will give you the information on the impact factor, their ranking, the quantile, and so on. Okay, now here I've given two images. One is after we log in, okay, Web of Science, we go to the journal citation report. You can see here the first picture there, not indexed in these three categories. So that's why when I put that Journal of Metal, Materials and Minerals, it will appear to be no results found. Why? Because it haven't gone into the three categories yet. The journal is still at the waiting list, okay, but still indexed by Web of Science. The next example here, the second picture, I simply type in Journal of Social, so it will give you a variety of options. So whichever journal that you're interested, you can just click, you can check their profiles and so on. Okay, now we move to the most famous term, impact factor. Okay, first of all, we see how this impact factor is being calculated. So general impact factor for a particular year X, right? The formula is number of citations to that journal X in the past 2 years divided by the number of total citable items that has been deposited in the journal for the past 2 years as well. Okay, so I will try to zoom and show. Okay, so this one I took one of the example, Journal of Cleaner Production. So this is a multidisciplinary journal within the science and technology field. We can find that the impact factor has been calculated for the year 2018. Okay, we haven't got the official 2019 one yet, but we have the 2018 impact factor is 6.395. And how it's being calculated? Basically from the 2 years plus 2017 divided by total number of journals has been published in this 2 years, 2016 to 2017. Okay. Then apart from that, you also can find other informations. For example, here, this is all these things will be visible through the JCRM, Journal Citation Report. So we also can find the subject category. So because you see each journal, their name could be broad, but they have a very specific scope of their own subject. So we also can see in terms of the subject field, how are these journals are performing. Okay, so that one also can be found, that metrics here. Okay, so that is about journal impact factor. Okay, the next one, eigenfactor. So eigenfactor is basic. We seldom use this. Okay, probably this will be useful if, let's say, we have got a very novel research, for example. Okay, we have found something very interesting. So we wanted to find the right audience. So that means we have to go for the right subject that will be provided by a particular journal. Okay, so basically eigenfactor will give us a measure of the journal's total importance in the scientific community, and also highly cited journals will influence the network more than the lesser cited journals. and they have a calculation based on 5 years time frame. And the last point here, the B sign over here, eigenfactor scores are scaled so that sum of the eigenfactor scores of all journals in JCR is 100. Imagine if, let's say, JCR contains 20,000 journals, so all of them will have their own specific number, and the number when we sum up, it will be 100. So as an example, you can see here, this is Journal of Cleaner Production. I've put the screenshot here. The eigenfactor score is 0.08370 only for the 2018. Okay, but if, let's say, we compare with the well-known journal Nature, the eigenfactor is 1.284. So even though the impact factor of the Nature is 43, but the eigenfactor is just 1.28. Why? Because we have to sum up all the journals to get the 100 score. Okay, so that is about, basically eigenfactor gives you the importance. Okay, and then this is another famous term that we normally hear, okay, Q, quartile ranking. So we have only 4 types of Q: Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So what is Q1? It depends on the impact factor distribution of the journal in a particular field, subject field. Okay, quartile. Sometimes we used to think that the quartile represent the overall quality of the journal, but in my opinion, okay, this is maybe in my opinion, I just feel like this Q will give you an idea about the particular subject that carried by the journal. Okay, so let's see first how this Q1, Q2. Okay, Q1 is basically the top 25% of impact factor distribution. Meanwhile, Q2 would be between 50 to 25% of impact factor distribution. Q3 would be between 75 to 50% of impact factor distribution. Meanwhile, the Q4 would be the bottom. Okay, the bottom, the less cited, that citation will go over there. So here I've taken the example of census, okay, the general census, which published by publisher MTPI, one of the open access publisher. Okay, we can see this is just one journal, but this one journal got 3 different subject categories: analytical chemistry, electrochemistry, instruments, and instrumentation. So when we talk about the Q, we can see here for the year 2018, for the field of analytical chemistry and electrochemistry, this journal is Q2. But if, let's say, our subject area that we are going to publish, okay, if, let's say, it falls in the instruments and instrumentation, then obviously this is Q1. So we have to know that. Okay, so we can say that, okay, the journal we are publishing Q1, Q2, but we also need to, it's like good thing for us to like take note about the subject field, which got that particular Q. This example I've got it, but generally when you search journals, most of the time, if, let's say, one subject is Q1, the other subjects also will be Q1. Okay, so most of the time I used to see that. So that's why I particularly choose this journal, so that I can give you the difference in terms of the quartile. Okay, H index. So this is our international editor, Dr. Veni, also did mention about this H index. So basically, this is one of the metric system which is provided by the Web of Science. So I'm touching about this part because talking overall about the Web of Science. It's a bibliometric indicator for a researcher to identify the productivity in terms of the number of articles that the researcher has published, and the impact will be calculated based on the number of citations. So we can look at one of the very simple example. This researcher's H index is 7. Why does he get H index of 7? If, let's say, he has 8 publications, okay, and his 7th publication got a citation more than 7 times, so that's why he got H index, which is 7. For him to attain H index 8, so his 8th publication, okay, the 8th publication must receive another 3 more citations, so that it will become 8. So his H index will be complete with the number 8. Okay, right. Now Web of Science, they have a beta version for the author profile, which I tried to log in, but like I couldn't sort it out. So it's like kind of difficult for me to find my H index in the Web of Science. So we have another platform, free platform, Publons. So Publons can be used. You can just sign up. Okay, the initial purpose of Publons is to appreciate the reviewers, but then they integrate with the Web of Science. Now Publons can display your H index. So you have to remember, the H index displayed at the Publons basically extracted from your Web of Science. Okay, right. So we move to the next part, Scopus. So Scopus, this one I took it from their official website. They have like 5,000 over publishers, 75 million items, and so many things. So, but the important thing is their citation, their articles, everything dating back to 1970, which means Scopus is obviously the largest database. Okay, on the reliable databases, when we talk about that, Scopus is one of the largest database compared to the Web of Science. Okay, because Scopus journals indexed by Scopus, many of the journals indexed by Web of Science also indexed by Scopus. But there are some scenario where journals sometimes indexed by Web of Science, but they haven't gone into the Scopus yet. We also have that scenario. Okay, but the circle of Scopus will be much more bigger compared to the Web of Science. Okay, now we were talking about impact factor just now. So that is for the Web of Science. When we talk about Scopus, the important thing is we should take note on the CiteScore. Okay, so which behaves in a similar way as the impact factor, but there are some difference. So let's look at how it's being calculated first of all. CiteScore is basically number of citations to the journal X in the past 3 years divided by number of total citable items by the journal X in the past 3 years, which means the main difference is 3 years. Journal impact factor 2 years, but CiteScore would be for 3 years. Okay, so this is again the same journal of cleaner production. You can see over here the CiteScore is 7.32. Let's do a very quick comparison. Okay, we can see 2018 according to the Web of Science impact factor, this is 6.395, but for the CiteScore it's 7.32. The impact factor over here, okay, sorry, the CiteScore for the journal of cleaner production over here is higher, probably because the time span that they have taken, which is like 3 years compared to the Web of Science. And another interesting part about Scopus, you also can have you can observe a life tracker, CiteScore tracker, which will be updated normally monthly basis. Okay, for the 2019, yeah, CiteScore is going to increase even more higher. Okay, for 2018 it was 7.32, but up to April, their CiteScore was 8.46. So like like we have another half a year to go. So their CiteScore might even go up to 9 or something. Okay, it still depends on the number of citations that they normally get and also the papers. Okay. Besides CiteScore, we also have some of the information at the Scopus, which is freely available. So before I go there, you can see these are the subject areas. Okay, you can look at the subject area. We have 4 different subject areas for the Journal of Cleaner Production. Okay, now on the right hand side, you can see the CiteScore for the 2018 7.32. Apart from that, we also have Schimago Journal Ranking 1.62 and then SNP 2.308. So these are the other information that we can get it from Scopus. Okay, first we look at the SNP. SNP is basically a normalized assessment of journal impact. It provides more accurate impact on subject field. Okay, for the Web of Science, we had the thing called eigenfactor, which focuses on the impact of the subject. For the Scopus, the impact will be measured by this SNP score, and it has been developed by Leiden University Center for Science and Technology. Okay, so here this is the formula on how they calculate this SNP score. Then we go into the Schimago Journal Ranking. So this is also a free accessible platform. You can just Google this. They provide scientometric indicators for journals, index, and Scopus, and also they provide the quartile for the Scopus index journals. Okay. Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, SJR. So this is the formula. The average number of weighted citation in the receipt year divided by the number of documents published in the previous 3 years. So they're taking the number of documents for 3 years, but they just look at the single year citation. So that's why SJR score normally will be lesser. Okay, when we compare with the CiteScore score. All right. Okay, so when we, I believe this is Journal of Cleaner Production. Okay, so this is Journal of Cleaner Production. I try to zoom this part here. So we can see once we go into the Schimago Journal Ranking, we type the journal name. Okay, so it will show us the informations, so many informations, like even international collaborations, cited documents, total sites, self-sites. Okay, even the self-citation will be counted here, and also their performance in terms of the quarter. So here the green colors are the indicates the Q. Green colors are the Q1. The yellow color is the Q2, and the red color, if not mistaken, red orange over here. If not mistaken, this is Q3. Okay. So fortunately, Journal of Cleaner Production, for all these 4 subject field, this is Q1. So it also will mention an overall Q1 over here. Okay, then we go for the H index, which will be this H index of the researcher profiles. Okay, in Scopus, we also can find this H index. It calculated the same way. Okay, this picture over here calculated the same way exactly as the Web of Science. However, the citation will be taken from Scopus database only, which means that, you see, it's very common for us to have, okay, sometimes common, sometimes no. This is also my opinion. Okay, we can have a higher H index in Scopus profile, but in Web of Science H index, it might be a bit lower. Sometimes it will be the same, okay, depending on the citation. What is the reason? Because obviously Scopus largest database, so the possibility or the probability for you to get more citations in the within the Scopus database is higher. So that's why our H index tend to be even higher. So if, let's say, we go a bit out of the scope, for example, Google Scholar, if you check your Google Scholar H index, it will be even higher than Scopus. Why? Because Google Scholar covers even a more bigger database. Okay, but just that, like, Google Scholar, they just index almost anything. Okay, or not to say almost anything. If, let's say, you meet certain criteria, okay, but very minimum. Okay, so they can take it in and they will index your journal. Okay, so probably because of that, Google Scholar was like not really. I mean, like, we can also use the Google Scholar. There's nothing wrong in that. Okay, now we move to the how to search for the author profile. Basically, it's a free account with unique author ID. You can just go to the author search and key in the last name, first name, and then it will. You can also find some information about the leading scientists in your research field. Okay, for example, here, this is one of the scientists. Basically, my field is on the conducting polymers, also the chemical sciences. So when I search through, I mean, like, I enter through my profile, and then I go through the subject, which can be found, okay, at the bottom part here, the page. You can find who is the researcher who have received like the highest number of citations. So basically, you can like follow, and also you can see what are their latest publications, how they are doing research, and so on. Okay, so all right, so summary. In terms of the coverage, okay, in my opinion, I would say that Scopus, obviously, they have a larger database because they are citing back to 1970 compared to the Web of Science. The general impact metric, the way, I mean, the name, if, let's say, impact factor, that is for Web of Science. Scopus, we cannot compare with the impact factor, that is CiteScore. And the impact calculation years for the Web of Science, just 2 years. For the Scopus, this is 3 years. And also the metric analyzer, who does that for Web of Science, Clarivate Analytics. For the Scopus themselves. The interesting part is even the Elsevier, the publisher. I mean, the Scopus is Elsevier's product, okay, but Scopus kind of a company where they only hold the title, abstract. They don't have the full articles, but Elsevier, they have the full articles. So that is the main difference. And other metrics can be found from Web of Science and Scopus, like eigenfactor. And also there is SGR and state. Okay. However, both databases are globally recognized. So I hope, like, I've cracked the nutshell, like very basic things about Scopus and also Web of Science. I will. I'll stop my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kaviraja. Thank you very much for the very informative, very detailed explanation about several terms that some of us might quite new to new insight for us. And okay, I will now open for Q&A session. Okay, we have around a few minutes until we move on to next session. We're accepting around 1 or 2 questions only. Any questions? Or you may also type in the chat box if you got any question. Okay. Most of the participants say thank you to Dr. Kavi for
You're
the
welcome. Welcome to
informative
everyone.